All right, so are you ready to dive in?
Yeah.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Atomic Habits by James Clear.
You know, the one that like everyone and their mother has been talking about?
Yeah, pretty much, and we're going to be dissecting a really popular video summary of it.
I think even if you're familiar with the book, you'll find a few new perspectives in this video.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so the video starts off with this idea of, tiny changes.
Little atomic habits.
Yeah, like these atomic habits and how those can lead to massive results over time.
Right. And the video uses this super clever analogy of a plane shifting course by like just 1 degree,
Oh, yeah.
which seems super insignificant at first, right?
Totally.
But over the course of a long flight, that tiny change leads to landing in a totally different city.
Wow, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's such a good visual way to understand like the power of compounding, right?
Yeah.
This idea that 1% better each day can make you 37 times better in a year.
It's kind of like magic, isn't it?
It really is.
It's not magic, though. It's consistency.
Yeah.
But the flip side's also true.
Yeah.
1% worse each day, and a year later, you've lost almost everything.
Whoa.
Makes you think.
It's definitely like a wake-up call
Yeah.
to stay aware of those seemingly insignificant bad habits that can kind of creep in.
Mm-hmm.
So the video gives some examples to illustrate this.
Okay.
Like, learning one new English word a day.
Okay.
Have you found this to be true in your experience with language learning?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. The progress might feel slow initially,
Right.
but those daily micro wins, like build your vocabulary
Uh-huh.
and confidence, surprisingly fast.
Yeah.
It's not about like cramming.
Yeah.
It's about steady, cumulative effort.
Totally.
And this ties into Clear's argument about systems versus goals,
Yes.
which is where things get really interesting.
Yes. He says we fall to the level of our systems, not our goals.
Right?
I've found that statement pretty thought-provoking.
Hmm.
So, if our daily habits, our systems aren't aligned with our dreams, it's kind of like those big goals are basically just wishful thinking, aren't they?
Exactly.
Huh.
It's a reality check for all of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
We might have these grand ambitions,
Mm-hmm.
but if our daily actions aren't supporting those aspirations,
Yeah.
it's like trying to climb a mountain with a broken rope.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That really resonates. So how do we bridge this gap then
Okay.
between our desired goals and like our actual habits?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the video suggests it all starts with like a shift in identity.
And this is where Clear's approach kind of goes beyond typical self-help advice.
Right.
It's not just about like setting goals. It's about changing who you believe yourself to be.
I'm really curious to hear more about that.
Okay.
They use some compelling examples in the video,
Yeah.
like saying, I am a healthy person instead of I want to lose weight,
Right.
or I am a runner
Yeah.
instead of I want to run a marathon.
Exactly. It's about embodying the change you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Not just wishing for it.
Totally. And they even talk about Michael Phelps,
Oh, yeah.
the Olympic swimming champion
Mm-hmm.
who didn't achieve greatness overnight, obviously.
Right.
It was his like rigorous daily practice, even on holidays,
Wow.
that built his identity as a swimmer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. His actions solidified that belief.
It's a powerful reminder that our habits shape who we become,
Mhm.
not just what we achieve.
Yeah.
So the question is like, what identity shift
Okay.
would support the habits that we want to cultivate? And
Right.
how do we actually make those shifts stick?
That's where Clear's framework of the habit loop comes in.
Okay.
Is a way to understand how habits work,
Uh-huh.
like on a fundamental level, so we can use them to our advantage.
Okay, break it down for us.
Right.
How does this habit loop actually function?
So think of it as like a 4-stage cycle.
Look.
First, there's the cue,
Okay.
the trigger that like initiates the habit.
Mm-hmm.
This could be anything from, your phone buzzing
Right.
to seeing a plate of cookies on the counter,
Oh, yeah, I see that. So the cue is what sets the whole process in motion.
Exactly.
Okay, what happens next?
So the cue triggers a craving,
Okay.
a desire for a particular feeling or outcome.
Okay.
It could be the desire for connection, with your phone,
Yeah.
the satisfaction of a sweet treat, or
Mhm.
anything in between.
So the cue sparks a longing for something.
Right.
Which then leads to...
The response,
Okay.
which is the actual action you take.
Uh-huh.
You answer the phone, you eat a cookie.
Right.
This action is driven by the craving that you just experienced.
It's like our brains are just wired
Yeah.
to seek out that reward or relief. But how does this cycle then become a habit?
So that's where the final stage comes in, the reward.
Okay.
This is the satisfaction or fulfillment that you get from the response.
Okay.
It reinforces the habit,
Uh-huh.
makes it more likely you'll repeat the whole loop in the future.
So it's a self-perpetuating cycle.
Exactly.
But how do we use this knowledge then
Okay.
to actually build good habits and break bad ones?
Right.
I imagine that's where it gets a little more complex.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome back to our deep dive on atomic habits.
So we left off talking about the habit loop.
Yeah.
And I'm like super eager to hear how we can hack this loop to work for us instead of against us.
Well, Clear lays out these 4 laws of behavior change,
Okay.
which are basically strategies for manipulating each stage of the habit loop.
Gotcha.
So to build good habits,
Uh-huh.
we make the cue obvious,
Okay.
the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying.
I like how that breaks it down
Yeah.
into like actionable steps.
Totally.
Can you give us an example of how this would work like in real life?
Sure. Let's say you want to start a daily writing practice.
Okay.
To make the cue obvious.
Uh-huh.
You could leave your notebook and favorite pen,
Okay.
like right on your desk. So they're the first thing you see each morning.
I do something similar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I leave my running shoes by the door.
Okay.
So I'm visually reminded to go for a run.
Exactly. Now, to make the craving attractive,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you might think about the feeling of accomplishment you get
Okay.
after writing, or the joy of seeing your ideas like take shape on the page.
So it's about focusing on the positive emotions
Yeah.
associated with the habit, not just like the action itself.
Right. Then to make the response easy,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't start with a goal of like writing 1,000 words a day.
Right.
You might just commit to writing 1 paragraph
Okay.
or even just like 1 sentence.
That's where the 2-minute rule comes in, right?
Yes.
Starting small to overcome that like initial inertia. I found that super helpful.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
For sure.
And finally, to make the reward satisfying,
Okay.
you could like treat yourself to a cup of coffee
Oh, yeah.
or listen to your favorite music while you write.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that like reinforces that positive feeling
Okay.
associated with a habit.
So I see how that could create like a positive feedback loop.
Right.
The reward makes you want to repeat the habit.
Yeah,
And the more you repeat it, the stronger the habit becomes.
exactly.
But what about breaking bad habits then?
Okay.
Is it just the reverse of this process?
Essentially, yes. You want to make the cue invisible,
Okay.
the craving unattractive, the response difficult, and the reward unsatisfying.
So using the example of like wanting to reduce social media use,
Okay.
you might delete like those tempting apps from your phone.
Right.
Remind yourself of how much time you waste scrolling.
Uh-huh.
Log out of your accounts to add an extra step.
Mm-hmm.
And then find alternative activities that bring you genuine joy and satisfaction.
Exactly. And this is where the environment we surround ourselves with
Yeah.
plays a crucial role.
Okay.
Clear argues that our surroundings have a powerful impact on our habits,
Right.
either supporting or sabotaging our efforts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If your kitchen is stocked with junk food, it's going to be harder to resist those cravings,
Right.
even with the best intentions.
Precisely. It's about creating an environment
Yeah.
that makes those causative choices the easiest, most appealing option.
I like how you phrased that.
Yeah.
It's not about relying solely on willpower.
Yeah.
It's about setting yourself up for success
Mm-hmm.
by designing your surroundings to support your goals.
Exactly. So we've talked about the habit loop, the 4 laws of behavior, change the environment.
Yeah.
Are there any other key concepts that the video highlights?
Oh, yeah. What else is there?
One that stands out is the importance of habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a simple but incredibly effective strategy
Okay.
for building new habits
Uh-huh.
by attaching them to existing ones.
Habit stacking. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So let's say you already have a solid habit
Fresh.
of drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning.
Okay.
You could stack a new habit,
Uh-huh.
like taking a daily vitamin, onto that existing routine.
Gotcha.
So after you finish your water,
Mm-hmm.
you immediately take your vitamin.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So by linking the new behavior to an established routine,
Right.
you're leveraging the existing momentum
Yeah.
to make the new habit stick.
Exactly.
It's like piggybacking on an already successful habit.
Right. It reduces the mental effort required to start something new.
Gotcha.
The video gives some other examples,
Okay.
like brushing your teeth and then practicing a new English phrase.
Oh, yeah.
or pouring your morning coffee and then writing down your top goal for the day.
I love how practical these strategies are.
Yeah.
Feels like anyone can start incorporating them into their
Yes.
lives like right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about achieving perfection overnight, right?
No, not at all.
The video also emphasizes like celebrating those small wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those
Okay.
small victories, no matter how seemingly insignificant,
Yeah.
they provide evidence of progress
Uh-huh.
and reinforce the habit loop. They keep us motivated and moving forward.
It's like those little dopamine hits that keep us engaged.
Right.
Yeah, and excited about the journey.
Exactly.
But as we all know, building new habits and breaking old patterns can be like really challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
There are bound to be setbacks
Right?
and moments of self-doubt.
That's why it's crucial to remember that habits are about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection.
Okay.
We don't have to be flawless.
Uh-huh.
We just have to keep moving forward.
I like that.
And when those inevitable slip-ups occur,
Yeah.
Clear offers some practical advice on how to bounce back.
Okay, let's hear it. How do we navigate those moments of discouragement
All right.
and get back on track?
So the first step is to be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Don't dwell on the misstep.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, acknowledge it.
Okay.
Learn from it and move on.
So it's not about beating yourself up.
Yeah.
It's about understanding what caused the slip up
Right.
and how to avoid it in the future.
Exactly.
So it's about cultivating a mindset of self-compassion
Yeah.
and using those setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Precisely. Next, remind yourself of your why.
Okay.
Why did you start this journey in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Reconnect with that deeper motivation,
Okay.
that vision of who you want to become.
Right.
That'll help you rekindle your commitment
Okay.
and get back on track.
That makes sense. When we lose sight of our why,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to lose momentum.
Yeah.
So refocusing on that purpose can be a powerful way to reignite our motivation.
Exactly. What else can we do to overcome those moments of doubt?
Yeah. What else?
Claire also recommends starting small again.
Okay.
If you've fallen off track,
Mm-hmm.
don't try to jump back in at full intensity.
Right.
That can be overwhelming and set you up for failure.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead, go back to the basics,
Okay.
maybe even the 2-minute rule,
Mm-hmm.
and rebuild momentum gradually. Ease back into the routine
Okay.
and allow yourself to regain that consistency.
That's such a relief to hear. You know, it takes the pressure off and makes it feel much less daunting to get back on track.
Exactly. And remember, success is not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about showing up even when it's hard.
Uh-huh.
And Clear emphasizes that true success isn't determined by luck or talent.
Okay.
It's a result of your habits.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It suggests we have more control over our outcomes
Right.
than we might realize. Our choices, our habits are ultimately shaping our destiny.
And this brings us back to Clear's emphasis on systems over goals.
Okay.
Successful people don't just focus on the end result.
Uh-huh.
They focus on building the right systems,
Okay.
the daily habits and routines
Right.
that will naturally lead to the desired outcomes.
That's where the real magic happens.
Right.
Yeah. It's about creating like a framework, a structure that supports our growth and helps us achieve those goals
Yeah.
without relying solely on willpower or motivation.
Exactly. And we'll delve deeper into this concept of systems in part 3 of our deep dive,
Okay.
along with other key insights from Atomic Habits.
Awesome.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we've covered so much already.
Yeah, we have.
From like the power of tiny changes
Mm.
and habit stacking to the importance of systems.
Right.
And even how our environment can like
Yeah,
influence our behaviors.
lovely. And there's still a few things we haven't gotten to.
Ooh, yeah. What else is there?
So we talked about the importance of environment in part 2,
Right?
and I think it's worth exploring further.
Okay.
It's not just about removing temptations. It's also about designing spaces that make good habits effortless
Okay.
and maybe even enjoyable.
So it's about consciously creating an environment
Yeah,
that supports our desired behaviors.
right.
Almost like setting up a system for success, like around us.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah.
If you want to read more,
Okay.
create a cozy reading nook
Okay. Oh,
with good lighting
yeah.
and like a comfortable chair.
Yeah, I like that.
If you're trying to eat healthier,
Mm-hmm.
make sure your fridge is stocked with fresh produce
Okay.
and those tempting snacks are out of sight.
So it's like making those positive choices
Uh-huh.
the most accessible and appealing option.
Right.
Almost like removing any friction
Yeah.
that might prevent us from engaging in those habits.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And remember habit stacking.
Yeah.
We can use that to our advantage when designing our environment too.
Okay, how so?
So for example, if you always charge your phone in the kitchen,
Okay.
put your language learning flashcards
Okay.
next to your charger.
Gotcha.
That way, while your phone is powering up,
Mm-hmm.
you can squeeze in a few minutes of vocab practice.
That's a good idea.
Right.
It's crazy how we can weave these little nudges
Yeah.
to our daily routines to make good habits almost automatic.
Mm-hmm.
But even with like the best systems and environments in place, we
Yeah.
all experience moments where our motivation just dips.
Yeah, for sure.
And we might question like our ability to stick with these changes.
That happens to everyone.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out to me in the video
Okay.
was the reminder that we don't have to wait
Mm-hmm.
for some grand burst of inspiration to
Yeah.
get started.
Right.
Motivation often follows action,
Okay.
not the other way around.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect moment
Well,
or feeling some surge of willpower.
mm-hmm.
It's about just taking that first step,
Right.
even if it's small.
Exactly. And a helpful way to approach this
Okay.
is to focus on the process,
Okay.
not just the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
The video uses the example of someone who wants to be a writer
Okay.
instead of fixating on getting published
Right.
or achieving external validation.
Mm-hmm.
They find satisfaction in the act of writing itself.
So it's about finding joy in the daily practice.
Yeah.
The process of creating, regardless of the end result.
Right, like falling in love with the journey.
Yeah.
Not just the destination.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's where Clear's idea of showing up comes in.
Exactly.
It's about making that commitment to your craft, your habit, your chosen path,
Yeah,
even when you just don't feel like it.
right. It's about consistency and dedication, knowing that those are the ingredients of true mastery.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some like arbitrary level of perfection. It's about the daily act of showing up and putting in the work,
Right.
even when it's challenging
Yeah,
or we don't see immediate results.
exactly. And remember, we don't have to be perfect.
I like hearing that.
There will be days when we write a terrible page,
Right.
miss a workout, or indulge in that extra slice of cake.
Yeah.
But as long as we keep coming back,
Uh-huh.
keep refining our systems,
Right.
and keep aligning our actions with our desired identity,
Mm-hmm.
we're on the right track.
It's about resilience,
Yeah.
about viewing those slip-ups as learning opportunities,
Right.
not reasons to give up. Exactly.
Ultimately, it's the long game that matters.
Mhm.
The cumulative effect of those small, consistent actions over time.
And that's the message I find most inspiring about Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not fixed beings.
Uh-huh.
We're capable of change. And that change doesn't have to be a monumental overnight transformation.
Right.
It can start with one small habit,
Uh-huh.
one tiny adjustment,
Okay.
a shift in our perspective or environment.
And those seemingly small changes compounded over time
Right.
can lead to extraordinary results.
Yeah.
We have more power to shape our destinies
Immediately.
than we often realize.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with the choices we make each day.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I'd love to leave you with a final thought.
Okay, Harris.
What one small habit will you start building today?
Hmm.
What tiny change will you make that over time could have a ripple effect on your life?
It's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
It could be as simple as like drinking an extra glass of water each day, taking a few minutes to meditate, or learning one new word in a language you want to master.
Exactly.
The key is to start,
Yeah.
to take that first step and to keep moving forward
Right.
one atom at a time.
Beautifully said. Remember, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
So go out there and start building the future you desire.
Yes.
One habit at a time.
One atom at a time.
Until next time.